The fluorescent lights of the empty student center buzzed overhead as Simone Washington slammed her fist against the vending machine for the third time. Her reflection stared back at her from the glass, dark brown skin looking ashy from dehydration, black curls pulled into a messy bun, and eyes rimmed with exhaustion. The machine had eaten her last 2 quarters. Not her money. She'd borrowed those coins from the tip jar at the library desk where she worked. Her stomach growled so loudly it echoed in the silence. 2 days. She hadn't eaten a real meal in 2 days. The granola bar stuck behind the metal coil inside the machine might as well have been a 5-course dinner. She hit the machine again, harder this time, ignoring the pain shooting through her knuckles. "Please," she whispered. "Just fall." The machine remained still, mocking her with its bright display of snacks she couldn't afford. Simone pressed her forehead against the cool glass, fighting back tears. This wasn't supposed to be her life. She'd worked so hard to get into college, maintaining perfect grades while working 2 jobs in high school. Her mother had been so proud. But pride didn't pay bills, and her partial scholarship barely covered tuition. She'd already skipped meals to pay for textbooks this month. Her campus meal plan had run out 3 weeks into the semester because she'd been sharing it with her roommate who was also broke. The night shifts at the library paid minimum wage and only gave her 15 hours a week. After rent for her tiny shared dorm room, utilities, and bus fare to get to her weekend job at a grocery store across town, she had maybe $20 left each month for food. $20. For 30 days. She'd gotten good at rationing. Ramen noodles stretched far. Peanut butter sandwiches on the cheapest bread. Apples when they were on sale. But this week, an unexpected lab fee had cleaned out her account. She'd paid it because failing chemistry wasn't an option. Failing meant losing her scholarship. Losing her scholarship meant going back home where there was even less opportunity and more mouths to feed. So here she stood at midnight, physically fighting a vending machine because her body was eating itself from the inside out. The sound of footsteps made her jump back from the machine. She quickly wiped her eyes, not wanting anyone to see her like this. A tall man in an expensive-looking grey sweater and dark jeans rounded the corner. He was white, maybe in his mid-30s, with brown hair and sharp blue eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Great. Probably campus security about to lecture her about damaging property. But he didn't look angry. He looked concerned. "That machine's been broken for weeks," he said, his voice gentle. "Facilities keeps meaning to fix it." "It's not broken," Simone said, her voice coming out rougher than she intended. "It took my money." "How much?" 50 cents. He pulled out his wallet without hesitation, producing a crisp $20 bill. "Let me replace it." "No." The word came out automatically, the way it always did. Pride was sometimes all she had left. "I'm fine. Thank you." "You're not fine." He said it matter-of-factly, not meanly. "When's the last time you ate?" Simone's throat tightened. She wanted to lie, to tell this stranger to mind his business and walk away. But her body betrayed her. Her stomach growled again, loud and insistent. "Thursday," she admitted quietly. His expression shifted into something she couldn't quite read. "It's Saturday. Early Sunday, actually. I know what day it is. I'm Jonathan." He extended his hand. After a moment's hesitation, she shook it. His grip was warm and firm. Jonathan Pierce. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but Simone was too tired and hungry to place it. Simone Washington. "Simone, I need you to let me help you. Not because I feel sorry for you, but because no college student should be going hungry while trying to get an education." He gestured toward the student center's small convenience store in the corner, its lights still on. "That store stays open 24 hours. Let me buy you some food. Real food. Please." Every instinct screamed at her to refuse. She didn't take handouts. She didn't accept charity. Her mother had raised her to work for everything she had. But Diane Washington had also raised her not to be stupid, and starving yourself when someone offered help was stupid. "Okay," Simone heard herself say. "Thank you." Something in Jonathan's face relaxed, as if he'd been holding his breath. "Come on." The convenience store was small but well stocked with sandwiches, salads, fruits, and microwavable meals. Jonathan grabbed a basket and handed it to her. Get whatever you want. Don't think about the price. Simone started slowly, picking up a sandwich and a banana. Then Jonathan added a salad, a protein bar, a bottle of juice, and a bag of trail mix. When she tried to protest, he simply smiled. You need options for the next few days too. At the register, he pulled out a credit card and paid the $63 without blinking. Simone clutched the bags, overwhelmed by the weight of both the food and the kindness. Thank you, she said again, meaning it with everything in her. I'll pay you back. You will not. His tone was firm but kind. But you will do something for me. Here it comes, Simone thought. The catch. Nothing was ever really free. You'll promise me that if you're ever in this position again, you'll ask for help before it gets this bad. The campus has resources. Food pantries. Emergency funds. And if those fail, you'll find me. Deal? Tears blurred her vision. Deal. Good. He pulled a business card from his wallet. My number's on there. I mean it, Simone. Day or night. She took the card, reading the embossed text, Jonathan Pierce, CEO, Pierce Technologies. Her eyes widened. Pierce Technologies was one of the biggest tech companies in the country. This man was a billionaire, and he'd just spent an hour helping her because she was hungry. Why are you being so nice to me? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Jonathan's smile was sad around the edges. Because 10 years ago, I was a grad student eating ketchup packets for dinner and too proud to ask for help. Someone eventually forced help on me anyway, and it changed my life. I'm just paying it forward. He started to walk away, then turned back. Oh, and Simone? Eat the sandwich first. It's got the most protein. You need your strength. Then he was gone, disappearing into the night like some kind of guardian angel in expensive jeans. Simone stood in the empty student center, bags of food in her arms, and finally let herself cry. But this time, they were tears of relief. What would you do if you were starving and someone offered to help? Would your pride let you accept, or would you suffer in silence? Drop a comment below with your honest answer, and subscribe to see how Simone's story unfolds. Simone sat in her tiny dorm room Monday morning, staring at Jonathan Pierce's business card. The sandwich he'd bought her was long gone, eaten within minutes of getting back to her room that night. The other food had lasted through Sunday, carefully rationed. But now it was a new week, and she was back to square one. Her roommate, Tasha, was at an early class. The room was quiet except for the hum of the mini-fridge they shared. Simone had checked it this morning. 1 yogurt that was probably expired, and half a bottle of water. Tasha was struggling just as much as she was. Simone's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello. Simone, it's Jonathan Pierce. From Saturday night. Do you have a class at noon? Her heart raced. No. I have a break from 11 to 2. Perfect. Can you meet me at the main administration building at 11:30? I have something for you. Mr. Pierce, you already helped me so much. I can't ask you for anything else. You're not asking. I'm offering. Please, Simone. Just meet me. Something in his voice made it impossible to refuse. Okay. I'll be there. At 11:25, Simone stood outside the administration building, nervously smoothing down her worn jeans and faded Howard University t-shirt. She'd bought it at a thrift store because she couldn't afford actual campus merchandise, but she wore it with pride anyway. When Jonathan arrived at exactly 11:30, he was dressed casually again, but somehow still looked like money. Thank you for coming, he said, gesturing for her to follow him inside. I've been working on something since Saturday, and I need your help. My help. They walked through the marble hallways until they reached the student services office. The woman behind the desk looked up and smiled immediately. Mr. Pierce, everything's ready as you requested. Excellent. Thank you, Patricia. He turned to Simone. I'm funding a pilot program for food security on campus. The university's been wanting to expand meal plan access, but they need to test the system first. I need student volunteers to use enhanced meal cards and provide feedback on the dining facilities, hours of operation, and food quality. Simone blinked. Okay. You'd be doing me a favor by participating. The card I'm offering would give you access to all campus dining locations, unlimited meals per day, for the entire spring semester. In exchange, you'd fill out a short survey once a week about your experience. It was too good to be true. Mr. Pierce, Jonathan. Please. Jonathan, this is too much. You already bought me groceries. This isn't charity, Simone. I'm asking you to work for me as a test participant. I need data from students who will actually use the system regularly. Students who understand food insecurity firsthand will give me the most honest feedback. He pulled out a green campus card from an envelope. This is already loaded and activated. All you have to do is say yes. Patricia leaned forward. Honey, 6 other students have already agreed to participate. You'd be helping the university improve services for everyone. 6 other students. The program was real. This wasn't just about her. Simone thought about her empty fridge, about Tasha who was probably just as hungry, about the way her hands shook during morning classes from low blood sugar. Where do I sign up? Jonathan's whole face brightened. Right here. The paperwork took 10 minutes. Patricia explained that the card worked at all 5 campus dining halls, 3 cafes, and even the convenience stores. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. No limits. When Simone held the card in her hand, it felt like holding a winning lottery ticket. The survey link will be emailed to you every Friday, Jonathan explained as they walked out of the building. It's only 10 questions, takes maybe 5 minutes. But I want you to be completely honest. If the food quality is bad, tell me. If the hours don't work for students with night classes, tell me. This program only succeeds if students like you help me make it better. I will. I promise. Simone clutched the card. Thank you doesn't seem like enough. It's more than enough. He checked his watch. Have you eaten lunch yet? No. Then let's test out that card. I want to see the dining hall experience firsthand anyway. They walked to the nearest dining hall together. Simone swiped her card nervously, half expecting it not to work. But the light turned green, and the cashier waved her through with a smile. The buffet stretched before her, hot meals, salad bar, sandwich station, fresh fruit, desserts. It was overwhelming. Take your time, Jonathan said quietly. Get whatever looks good. Simone loaded her tray with grilled chicken, brown rice, steamed vegetables, a side salad, an apple, and a chocolate chip cookie. When was the last time she'd had a cookie? They sat at a table by the window, and Simone tried to eat slowly, to be polite. But the food was so good, and her body was so hungry. Don't hold back on my account, Jonathan said, amusement in his voice. That's what the food's here for. This chicken is incredible. The dining services here are actually pretty good. A lot of universities cheap out, but this place invests in quality. He picked at his own salad. Tell me about your classes. What's your major? Computer science with a minor in education. I want to teach technology to kids in underserved communities. Help them see that careers in tech are possible no matter where they come from. Jonathan set down his fork, looking at her with new interest. That's exactly the kind of thinking that changes industries. Have you done any programming yet? Just intro courses so far. Python, mostly. But I love it. It's like solving puzzles, but the solution can help people. They talked for an hour. About coding, about education access, about Jonathan's own path from struggling student to tech CEO. He told her about starting his company in a garage with 2 friends and a dream. About the mentor who'd given him his first real break. About his belief that talent was everywhere, but opportunity wasn't. That's what this meal program is really about, he admitted. I can't stand the idea of brilliant students failing out because they can't afford to eat. It's a solvable problem. So I'm solving it. You're a good person, Jonathan. I'm a person who got lucky and wants to share that luck. He stood up. I have a meeting in an hour, but I'm glad we did this. Enjoy the card, Simone. And remember, honest feedback only. If something isn't working, I need to know. I will. Thank you. For everything. After he left, Simone sat in the dining hall for another 20 minutes, just absorbing the moment. She got a second helping of vegetables and another cookie. She filled a to-go container with fruit for later. For the first time in months, she felt full. Really, truly full. That night, she shared her fruit with Tasha and told her about the program. Her roommate nearly cried with relief when Simone explained that the university was looking for more test participants. By the end of the week, Tasha had her own card too. And every Friday, Simone filled out her survey with detailed, honest feedback, feeling like maybe, just maybe, she was part of something bigger than herself. 2 weeks passed in a blur of full meals and focused studying. Simone's grades improved immediately. Turns out it was much easier to concentrate in organic chemistry when your brain wasn't screaming for glucose. She'd gained back the weight she'd lost, her skin glowed again, and she had energy for morning workouts at the campus gym. She saw Jonathan once during those 2 weeks, crossing the quad while she was heading to class. He'd waved and smiled, asking how the meal plan was working. She'd thanked him profusely, and he'd simply said he was glad to help before hurrying off to a meeting. So when her phone rang on a Wednesday afternoon with his name on the caller ID, she was surprised. "Hi, Jonathan." "Simone, hey. Do you have time to meet tomorrow? I have a proposition for you." Her stomach tightened. The meal card was working perfectly. What more could he possibly want to give her? "Sure. What time? How about 2 o'clock at the campus coffee shop?" "My treat. You don't have to buy me coffee." "I know. But I'm going to anyway. See you tomorrow." Simone spent the rest of the day wondering what this proposition could be. She'd filled out her surveys honestly, reporting that the dining hall near the engineering building closed too early for students with night labs, and that the vegetarian options were limited. Had she been too critical? Was he upset? At 2 o'clock the next day, she found Jonathan already seated at a corner table with 2 coffees waiting. He stood when he saw her, gesturing to the chair across from him. "I got you a vanilla latte. Hope that's okay." "It's perfect." "How did you know?" "I asked the barista what drink most college students order." He smiled. Seemed like a safe bet. Simone took a sip. It was delicious and probably $6 she would never have spent on herself. "So what's this proposition?" Jonathan pulled out a folder. Pierce Technologies has a campus outreach division. We partner with universities to improve technology access and provide mentorship for students pursuing tech careers. We're expanding our presence here, and I need someone who understands this campus, understands food insecurity, and can connect with students authentically. "Okay. I want to hire you as a student coordinator. 20 hours a week, flexible scheduling around your classes. You'd help run workshops, connect students with resources, assist with our scholarship application process, and provide feedback on our programs." He slid a paper across the table. "This is the hourly rate." Simone looked at the number and her heart stopped. $18 an hour. For 20 hours a week. That was more than double what she made at the library, and nearly triple her grocery store wages combined. "This is real. Completely real. You'd start next week if you accept. We have office space in the Technology Center, and you'd work directly with me and our campus programs director, Helen Rodriguez. She's brilliant. You'll love her." "Jonathan, this is too much. First the food, now this. I can't keep taking things from you." "You're not taking anything. I'm hiring you because you're qualified. You're a computer science major with a passion for education access. You understand the challenges students face because you've lived them. And based on your survey feedback, you're thoughtful, detailed, and not afraid to speak up when something needs improvement. Those are exactly the qualities I need." He leaned forward. "Simone, I run a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't do charity hires. If I didn't think you could do this job and do it well, I wouldn't offer it. But I do think that. So the question isn't whether you deserve this. The question is whether you're going to let fear or pride stop you from accepting an opportunity that could change your life." Put like that, there was only one answer. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. "Baby, if someone hands you a blessing, you say thank you and you take it. God doesn't send help twice to stubborn people. When do I start? Jonathan's grin was immediate and genuine. Monday at 9. Helen will meet you at the Technology Center for orientation. Bring a laptop if you have one, but we can provide one if you don't. I have one. It's old, but it works. We'll get you a better one anyway. Company equipment. He pulled out another paper. This is your offer letter. Read it over, sign it, and email it back to me by Friday. Welcome to Pierce Technologies, Simone. They spent the next hour going over the details. Health insurance. Paid holidays. A small travel stipend for any off-campus events. The job was better than she'd dreamed possible. When Jonathan finally stood to leave, Simone stood too, and without thinking, she hugged him. He seemed startled for a moment, then hugged her back gently. Thank you, she whispered. You have no idea what this means. I think I do, he said softly. Now go celebrate. You earned this. Simone called her mother that night, the words tumbling out in an excited rush. Diane Washington cried on the phone, praising God and saying she knew her baby would make it. Mama, he just keeps helping me. The food card, now this job. I don't understand why. Baby, some people are just good. Don't question it. Just be grateful and work hard. Make him proud he took a chance on you. I will, Mama. I promise. On Monday morning, Simone walked into the technology center wearing her best outfit, black slacks and a button-down blouse she'd thrifted but looked professional. Helen Rodriguez was waiting, a petite Latina woman in her 40s with warm brown eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. You must be Simone. Jonathan's told me great things. Ready to get to work? Absolutely. The office space was modern and bright, with large windows overlooking the campus quad. Simone's desk was already set up with a brand new laptop, a welcome packet, and a coffee mug that said Future Tech Leader. Helen walked her through the programs they ran, coding workshops for beginners, scholarship application assistance, a mentorship network connecting students with industry professionals, and the food security initiative that had helped Simone. We do good work here, Helen said. Jonathan believes in removing barriers so talent can flourish. Your job is to help identify those barriers and connect students with solutions. Think you can handle that? Yes, good. Let's get started. By the end of her first week, Simone had helped 12 students sign up for meal program testing, organized a coding workshop that filled to capacity, and provided input on scholarship criteria that would prioritize first-generation college students. The work was meaningful, the hours were flexible, and her first paycheck made her cry in the bathroom from sheer relief. She could pay rent, buy groceries, send money home to help with her little brother's school supplies. She could breathe. And all because a billionaire had seen her hitting a vending machine at midnight and decided to care. Have you ever been given an opportunity that seemed too good to be true? Did you take it, or did pride hold you back? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to see what happens next in Simone's life. 3 months into her position at Pierce Technologies, Simone had become indispensable. What started as 20 hours a week had naturally expanded to 25 because she loved the work too much to watch the clock. She'd streamlined the scholarship application process, reducing paperwork by 40%. She'd launched a peer tutoring program that paired tech-savvy students with beginners. And she'd convinced the dining services to extend hours at the engineering building cafeteria after presenting data from her surveys. Helen had given her more responsibility each week, trusting her judgment on program decisions. But it was the Thursday evening meetings with Jonathan that changed everything. He'd started stopping by the office every Thursday around 6, after most staff had left. Initially, he'd claimed he was just checking on the campus programs. But their conversations quickly evolved beyond work. He'd ask about her classes, her coding projects, her ideas for improving technology access. And he'd actually listen, taking notes, asking follow-up questions, treating her insights like they mattered. You have good instincts, he told her one evening in late March. They were sitting in the small conference room, reviewing quarterly reports. You see problems other people miss because you've lived them. I just know what it's like to struggle, Simone said. Most people running these programs don't. Exactly. That's why your perspective is valuable. He pulled up a spreadsheet on his laptop. Look at this. These are our scholarship acceptance rates across 20 universities. What do you notice? Simone studied the numbers. The schools in wealthier areas have much lower acceptance rates. Students aren't applying even though they're eligible. Why do you think that is? Because they don't know the opportunities exist. Or they assume they won't qualify. Or the application process is too complicated. She scrolled through the data. What if we did outreach directly in high schools in those areas? Not just posting applications online, but actually going to schools, talking to students face to face, helping them apply right there. Jonathan smiled slowly. That's exactly what we should do. Can you draft a proposal for a high school outreach program? Budget, timeline, staffing needs. You want me to write a whole program proposal? Why not? You have the vision for it. I'll help you with the business side, but the core idea should come from you. Over the next 3 weeks, Simone threw herself into the project. She researched high school demographics, reached out to guidance counselors, and created a presentation that outlined every detail. Jonathan met with her twice a week, teaching her how to project costs, measure impact, and present data to stakeholders. Business is just storytelling with numbers, he explained during one session. You're telling the story of why this program matters. The numbers prove it can work. Put them together and you have something powerful. I never thought about it that way. Most people don't. They think business is all logic and no heart. But the best ideas come from people who care deeply about solving real problems. He looked at her thoughtfully. You're good at this, Simone. Better than a lot of people with MBAs. I'm just doing what makes sense. That's exactly why you're good at it. When she finally presented the high school outreach proposal to Jonathan and Helen in mid-April, her hands shook. She'd put together a 20-page document with financial projections, implementation strategies, and measurable outcomes. This was more than a class project. This was real. Helen read through it carefully, nodding occasionally. Jonathan asked pointed questions about scaling the program and measuring success. When Simone answered each one confidently, backed by data and reasoning, she saw respect growing in their eyes. This is excellent work, Helen finally said. With some minor adjustments to the budget, I think we should pilot this next fall. Really? Simone couldn't contain her excitement. Really? You've thought through every angle. This could help hundreds of students. She looked at Jonathan. We should bring her to the board presentation next month. Let her present this herself. Agreed, Jonathan said. Simone, how would you feel about presenting this to our board of directors in May? It'll be intimidating, but it's good experience. I'll do it. The next month was intense. Jonathan coached her on public speaking, helped her refine her slides, and ran through practice presentations until she could deliver her pitch in her sleep. He pushed her, but never made her feel incapable. Instead, he acted like her success was inevitable, which somehow made it feel possible. You belong in that room, he told her the night before the board meeting. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. You earned your seat at that table. The board meeting was held in a downtown high-rise with floor-to-ceiling windows and leather chairs that probably cost more than her entire semester's tuition. 12 people sat around a massive conference table, investors, executives, and board members in expensive suits. Simone wore a navy dress Helen had helped her pick out, and she held her head high. When Jonathan introduced her as the architect of the new outreach program, she stood and launched into her presentation. Her voice didn't shake. Her hands were steady. She spoke about barriers to education, about untapped potential in underserved communities, about the return on investment when companies like Pierce Technologies removed obstacles for talented students. She spoke about herself without saying it directly, and everyone in that room knew it. When she finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then one of the board members, an older black woman named Lorraine Jacobs, started clapping. Others joined in. That was outstanding, Lorraine said. Jonathan, where did you find her? Hitting a vending machine at midnight, he said simply. Best hiring decision I ever made. The room laughed, but Simone caught his eye and saw something there beyond professional pride. Something warmer. Something that made her heart skip in a way that had nothing to do with business presentations. The board approved the program unanimously. Simone would lead the pilot launch in the fall, working with Helen but given significant autonomy. It was the kind of opportunity most people didn't get until years into their careers. That evening, Jonathan took her to dinner to celebrate. Not at a dining hall or coffee shop, but at a real restaurant with cloth napkins and a wine list. When the waiter offered her a menu, she stared at the prices and started calculating what she could afford. "Order whatever you want," Jonathan said quietly. "This is on me. You earned a celebration dinner." "Jonathan, this place is expensive." "I know. I picked it on purpose." "You just impressed a room full of investors with your intelligence and vision. Let me buy you a nice meal. Please." The please did it. Simone ordered the salmon and actually enjoyed it without worrying about the cost. They talked about the program, about her remaining semesters of school, about his early days building his company. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and comfortable silences. "Can I tell you something?" Jonathan said over dessert, his tone shifting to something more serious. "Of course. When I saw you that night in December, I didn't just see someone who was hungry. I saw someone who was fighting. Who refused to quit even when things were impossible. That kind of determination is rare." He paused. "I've enjoyed watching you grow these past few months. Not just as an employee, but as a person discovering what she's capable of. You made that possible." "No. I just removed some obstacles. You did everything else." His blue eyes held hers. "I'm proud of you, Simone. Really proud." Something in the air between them shifted, became charged with possibility. But before Simone could name it, Jonathan was signaling for the check, the moment passing. On the drive back to campus, she sat in his car and wondered if she'd imagined the warmth in his voice, the weight of his words. Wondered if a man like him could ever see her as anything more than a project, a success story, a good investment. She told herself it didn't matter. The job was real, the opportunity was real, and that was enough. It had to be enough. But her heart was starting to whisper that maybe, just maybe, she wanted more. By the time finals rolled around in May, Simone's life had transformed completely. She'd aced all her classes, thanks to consistent meals and reduced work stress. She'd been promoted to program coordinator, with a raise that put her solidly into comfortable territory. And she'd become one of Jonathan's most trusted advisors on student-facing initiatives. What she hadn't expected was the press conference. "We're announcing the expansion of the food security program to 50 universities nationwide," Helen explained during a Monday morning meeting. "Jonathan wants you to be the face of it. Share your story, explain how the program works, talk about why it matters." Simone's stomach dropped. "In front of cameras?" "In front of a lot of cameras," Jonathan added, walking into the conference room with coffee in hand. "National media. Education reporters. The whole deal. I know it's intimidating, but your story is powerful, Simone. Students need to hear from someone who's been where they are." "I don't know if I can talk about all that publicly." Jonathan sat down across from her, his expression gentle but firm. "I understand it's personal. But think about the girl you were 6 months ago. Hitting that vending machine, starving, too proud to ask for help. If she'd seen someone like you on the news, someone who'd been exactly where she was, would it have helped?" Simone thought about those dark months. The shame, the isolation, the belief that she was the only one struggling. Yes. It would have helped a lot. "Then you know what you have to do." She did. Even though the thought of standing in front of cameras and admitting she'd gone hungry made her want to hide, she knew he was right. If her story could help even one student accept help sooner, it was worth the discomfort. "Okay. I'll do it." The press conference was scheduled for the first week of June, after finals but before summer break. Helen worked with Simone on her talking points, helping her shape her story into something compelling but not exploitative. Jonathan ran through practice questions with her, preparing her for anything reporters might ask. "Just speak from the heart," he coached her. Don't try to sound corporate or polished. Your authenticity is your strength. The morning of the press conference, Simone stood in front of her mirror, smoothing down the emerald green dress Helen had insisted she buy for the occasion. It fit perfectly, hugging her curves in a professional but flattering way. Her natural hair was styled in defined curls that framed her face. She looked confident, successful, put together. She looked like she belonged. The press conference was held in the main auditorium, which had been transformed with Pierce Technologies banners and a stage setup that looked like something from a TED Talk. When Simone peeked through the curtain, she saw at least 100 people, reporters, cameras, university officials, and students who'd been invited to attend. Her mother had driven up that morning with her 12-year-old brother, Marcus, who sat in the front row beaming with pride. Seeing them there steadied her nerves. Jonathan gave the opening remarks, talking about Pierce Technologies' commitment to education access and the success of the pilot program. Then he introduced Simone, and suddenly she was walking onto that stage, microphone in hand, lights bright in her eyes. 6 months ago, I was standing in an empty student center at midnight, hitting a vending machine because it had eaten my last 2 quarters, she began, her voice steady. I hadn't eaten in 2 days. I was exhausted, broke, and convinced I had to handle everything alone because asking for help felt like failure. The room was silent, everyone listening. That night, a stranger saw me and refused to let me suffer in silence. He bought me food, no strings attached. Then he created opportunities for me to earn my own way while making sure I never went hungry again. But more than that, he taught me that accepting help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. She talked about the meal card program, about how it had changed not just her life but dozens of other students' lives. She explained the new scholarship initiative, the high school outreach program, and the expansion to 50 universities. She spoke about food insecurity statistics, about how talented students were failing out of school not because they weren't smart enough, but because they were hungry. No student should have to choose between buying textbooks and eating dinner. No one should fail classes because they're too malnourished to concentrate. These are solvable problems, and Pierce Technologies is committed to solving them. When she finished, the applause was immediate and loud. Reporters raised hands with questions. She answered each one honestly, not shying away from the hard parts of her story. One reporter asked if she was embarrassed about needing help. I was at first, Simone admitted. But now I understand that systems fail people, not the other way around. I'm not embarrassed anymore. I'm grateful. And I'm determined to help build better systems so fewer students face what I faced. Another reporter asked about Jonathan, about what kind of person helps a stranger at midnight. Simone looked over at where he stood near the stage, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. The kind of person who sees potential in people and removes barriers so they can reach it. He didn't help me because he felt sorry for me. He helped me because he believed I had something valuable to contribute. And then he gave me opportunities to prove him right. After the press conference, the media attention was overwhelming. News outlets picked up her story. Social media exploded with supportive comments and questions about how to access the programs. Simone's phone buzzed constantly with interview requests and messages from students sharing their own struggles. That evening, Jonathan found her in the office, staring at her phone in disbelief. "Told you that you were powerful," he said with a smile. "This is insane. Good Morning America wants me to come on the show next week. You should do it." "Jonathan, I'm not a spokesperson. I'm just a student who got lucky." "You're not lucky. You're talented, articulate, and compassionate. You're exactly the person who should be representing this program." He sat down next to her. "I know it's a lot. But you're changing lives, Simone. Students all over the country are going to see you and realize they're not alone. That's huge." She looked at him, this man who'd changed her entire trajectory with simple kindness. "Why did you really help me that night?" "The truth." Jonathan was quiet for a moment. "Because I saw myself in you. The determination, the pride, the fear of failing. I saw someone fighting so hard to succeed against impossible odds, and I couldn't walk away. And then I got to know you, and I realized you weren't just determined. You were brilliant." He paused. Helping you is one of the best things I've ever done. Something in his voice made her heart race. The way he looked at her wasn't professional anymore. It was warm, admiring, maybe even tender. I need to tell you something, she said quietly. What? These past 6 months, working with you, learning from you, it's been more than just a job for me. She took a breath, terrified but determined. You've become important to me. Really important. Jonathan's expression shifted into something complicated. Simone. I know. You're my boss. It's inappropriate. I shouldn't have said anything. No, that's not. He ran a hand through his hair. You're not the only one who feels that way. Her breath caught. What? I've been trying to keep things professional because I didn't want to make you uncomfortable or take advantage of our working relationship. But I haven't been able to stop thinking about you for months. He looked at her with those intense blue eyes. You're smart, passionate, beautiful. Everything about you is compelling. So what do we do? I don't know. We work together. There's a power dynamic. I don't want to mess this up. Simone thought about everything she'd learned in the past 6 months. About accepting help, about taking opportunities, about not letting fear stop her from good things. Then let's not mess it up. Let's just be honest with each other and figure it out together. Jonathan smiled, slow and genuine. That sounds perfect. They sat there in the quiet office, the city lights twinkling through the windows, and something shifted between them. Not into romance quite yet, but into possibility. Into the acknowledgement that this thing growing between them was real and worth exploring carefully. One step at a time, he offered. One step at a time, she agreed. Outside, her phone buzzed again. Another interview request, another opportunity to share her story and help students who needed to hear it. 6 months ago, she'd been invisible, starving, and hopeless. Now she was visible, full, and surrounded by possibility. All because she'd finally learned to accept help when it was offered. Summer session was quieter on campus. Most students had gone home, leaving the quads peaceful and the dining halls half empty. Simone had decided to stay and take a light course load while continuing her work with Pierce Technologies. Her mother had been disappointed she wouldn't be home, but understood when Simone explained the opportunities she was building. The truth was, she'd stayed partly for the work, and partly for Jonathan. They'd settled into a new rhythm after their conversation in June. He'd started meeting her for coffee twice a week, conversations that had nothing to do with work. They'd talk about books, childhood memories, dreams for the future. He'd told her about growing up middle class in Ohio, about his father's factory job and his mother's work as a teacher. About how he'd gotten into coding because the library offered free computer classes. Simone had shared stories about growing up in South Philadelphia, about her mother working 2 jobs to keep them afloat after her father left. About Marcus, her brilliant baby brother who wanted to be an engineer. About the neighborhood corner store owner who'd sometimes let her take groceries on credit when things were really tight. Your mom sounds incredible, Jonathan had said during one of these conversations. She is. She never let us see her struggle, even when I know she was breaking inside. You're a lot like her, you know. Strong. Determined. Protective of the people you love. The way he'd looked at her when he said it made her stomach flutter. By mid-July, Simone couldn't deny what was happening. She was falling for him. Not the grateful, indebted feelings she'd worried about in the beginning. Real feelings. The kind that made her heart race when his name appeared on her phone. The kind that made her laugh harder at his jokes and pay attention to what coffee he ordered and notice when he seemed stressed about work. She caught herself thinking about him at random moments, wondering what he was doing, if he was eating properly, if he was getting enough sleep. She'd find excuses to stop by his office, just to see him smile. And she was pretty sure he was doing the same thing because he'd started showing up at the campus program's office more than was strictly necessary. Helen had noticed. You two are circling each other like planets, she'd observed one afternoon. It's adorable and slightly painful to watch. Is it that obvious? Only to anyone with eyes. Helen smiled. For what it's worth, I think you're good for him. He's been different since you started working here. Lighter. Happier. We work together. It's complicated. Honey, the best things usually are. Just don't overthink it. But Simone couldn't help overthinking it. Jonathan was a billionaire. She was a college student from a struggling neighborhood. He traveled in circles she couldn't imagine. She shopped at thrift stores and clipped coupons. What could they possibly have in common beyond work? Except they did have things in common. They both loved science fiction novels. They both thought cilantro tasted like soap. They both believed technology should be accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy. They both knew what it was like to be hungry and determined to never feel that way again. And when they were together, none of the other stuff seemed to matter. One evening in late July, Jonathan invited her to a baseball game. Just as friends, he'd clarified quickly. No pressure. But the company has season tickets and everyone else is busy. Simone had never been to a professional baseball game. Couldn't afford it. But she said yes because spending an evening with Jonathan sounded better than sitting in her empty dorm room. The stadium was electric with energy. Jonathan had gotten them seats along the third baseline, close enough to see the players' faces. He bought hot dogs and nachos and sodas, waving away her attempts to contribute money. "You're my guest," he said firmly. "Let me treat you." They cheered for the home team, booed at bad calls, and talked through the slower innings. Jonathan explained baseball strategy in a way that made it interesting instead of confusing. Simone found herself relaxing, just enjoying the moment without analyzing what it meant. In the seventh inning, the stadium cameras panned across the crowd for the kiss cam. Simone had seen this before on TV, couples being spotlighted to kiss for the audience. She watched various pairs lock lips while the crowd cheered, laughing at one couple who clearly weren't together and awkwardly refused. Then the camera landed on them. Simone's face appeared on the jumbotron next to Jonathan's. The crowd started chanting, "Kiss, kiss, kiss." Her heart hammered. This was not how she'd imagined their first kiss, pressured by thousands of strangers. She looked at Jonathan, ready to laugh it off, but he was looking at her with an expression that made her breath catch. "We don't have to," he said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear over the crowd noise. "I know. But I really want to." "Me too." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. When his lips met hers, soft and sure, the stadium erupted in cheers. But Simone barely heard them. All she could focus on was the warmth of his hand cupping her face, the gentle pressure of his mouth against hers, the way her entire body seemed to light up from the contact. When they pulled apart, both smiling, the camera had already moved on to torment another couple. But something between them had fundamentally shifted. "So," Jonathan said, his voice slightly rough. "That happened. That definitely happened. Thoughts? I think we should probably do that again. Without the audience." His grin was immediate and brilliant. "I can arrange that." They stayed for the rest of the game, but Simone couldn't have said who won. Her hand was in Jonathan's, their fingers interlaced, and every few minutes he'd glance at her and smile like he couldn't quite believe this was happening. After the game, he drove her back to campus. They sat in his car outside her dorm, neither wanting the evening to end. "I should probably tell you something," Jonathan said. "I've wanted to kiss you since approximately March. Maybe earlier. It's been torture pretending I was only interested in you professionally. Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I was terrified of making you uncomfortable. You work for me. I have significantly more power in this dynamic. I never wanted you to feel pressured or obligated." Simone turned to face him fully. "Jonathan, you've never made me feel anything but respected and valued. Yes, you're my boss. But you've also been my mentor, my friend, and now, maybe something more?" "Definitely something more." He reached over and tucked a curl behind her ear. "But we should probably talk about how this works. Set boundaries. Make sure we're both comfortable." "Agreed. How about we keep work and personal separate as much as possible? At the office, we're professional. Outside of it, we can explore whatever this is." "That sounds reasonable." He paused. "And if at any point you feel weird about it or want to stop, you tell me immediately. No hard feelings, no impact on your job. Deal?" "Deal." She leaned over and kissed him again, just because she could. Now go home. You have an 8 a.m. meeting tomorrow. How did you know that? Because I manage your campus schedule, remember? He laughed. Right. Good night, Simone. Good night, Jonathan. She floated up to her room, her lips still tingling, her heart fuller than she'd ever felt. Tasha was visiting family for the summer, so Simone had the room to herself. She called her mother immediately. Mama, something happened. What's wrong? Diane's voice was instantly alert with concern. Nothing's wrong. Something's right. Really right. Simone took a breath. I think I'm falling for Jonathan. And I think he feels the same way. There was a pause. The billionaire who gave you the job? Yeah. Baby, are you sure this is a good idea? That's a big power difference. I know. We talked about it. We're being careful. Simone lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Mama, he makes me feel seen. Not like a charity case or a project. Like a person he genuinely values and respects. He challenges me, supports me, believes in me. And when I'm with him, I feel like the best version of myself. Diane was quiet for a long moment. Does he treat you good? The best. Does he respect your boundaries? Completely. And are you happy? Simone smiled. Really happy. Then that's all that matters. Just protect your heart, baby. Rich men sometimes have different priorities. He's not like that, Mama. I promise. After they hung up, Simone lay in bed replaying the kiss in her mind. She knew her mother's concerns were valid. She knew people would probably judge them, whisper that she was only with him for his money, that he was taking advantage of a vulnerable employee. But she also knew what she felt. And what she felt was real, complicated, scary, and absolutely worth exploring. For the first time in her life, Simone wasn't just surviving. She was thriving. And maybe, just maybe, she was falling in love. What would you do if you fell for someone who'd helped you when you were struggling? Would you trust your feelings, or would you worry about people's judgments? Comment below and subscribe to see where Simone and Jonathan's story goes next. August brought cooler evenings and the approaching start of fall semester. Simone and Jonathan had been carefully navigating their relationship for 6 weeks, keeping things private but gradually spending more time together. Coffee dates became dinner dates. Casual conversations became deeper connections. They'd go to movies, walk through museums, spend hours talking about everything and nothing. Jonathan had met some of Simone's friends, fitting surprisingly well into her world despite the wealth gap. He'd shown up to a cookout one of her classmates hosted, bringing expensive steaks but grilling them himself and laughing at everyone's jokes like he belonged there. But he hadn't met her family yet. And that felt significant. I want to meet your mom, Jonathan said one evening in mid-August. They were having dinner at a quiet restaurant across town, far enough from campus to avoid running into students. And Marcus. You talk about them constantly. I'd like to know the people who made you who you are. Simone's stomach tightened. Her family lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood that was economically depressed and sometimes rough. The building was old, the hallways smelled like various dinners cooking at once, and the elevator only worked half the time. It was nothing like the world Jonathan lived in. My family isn't like yours, she said carefully. I know. That's not what I'm asking about. I want to meet them because they're important to you. Jonathan, we live in a tiny apartment. The couch has duct tape on it. Marcus sleeps on a fold-out in the living room. It's not. Simone. He reached across the table and took her hand. I don't care about any of that. I care about you. And if you're not ready for me to meet your family, that's fine. But if you're hesitating because you think I'll judge where you come from, you're wrong. I already know where you come from. It's part of why you're so incredible. She looked at their joined hands, his pale fingers intertwined with her darker ones, and felt something settle in her chest. He was right. If this relationship was going to work, hiding parts of her life wasn't an option. Okay. But I'm warning you, my mama is going to interrogate you. She's protective. Good. She should be. They planned the visit for the following Sunday. Simone called her mother to give her a heads up. He wants to come here? To our apartment? Diane sounded panicked. Mama, he knows we're not rich. He doesn't care. I need to clean. Deep clean. Marcus, get in here and help, your sister's boyfriend is coming over. He's not my boyfriend. Officially. We're just dating. That man drove all the way from wherever he lives to meet your family. He's your boyfriend. Sunday morning, Simone met Jonathan at a grocery store near her mother's neighborhood. He'd insisted on bringing food for dinner, and she'd agreed to help him shop so he didn't show up with things that seemed too extravagant. They walked through the aisles together, Jonathan pushing the cart while Simone selected items. Chicken for baking, fresh vegetables, ingredients for her mother's famous mac and cheese, rolls, and ingredients for peach cobbler. Your mom really cooks like this regularly? Jonathan asked, watching the cart fill up. Every Sunday. It's our family tradition. She says no matter how hard the week is, Sunday dinner brings us back together. That's beautiful. At the register, the total came to over $100. Jonathan handed over his credit card without blinking. When Simone tried to contribute, he shook his head. Let me do this. Please. I want to. They drove to her mother's apartment in Jonathan's car, a nice but not too flashy sedan. He'd dressed casually in jeans and a button-down shirt, clearly making an effort not to stand out. Simone appreciated that more than she could say. The building looked even more run down in daylight. Graffiti marked the entrance, and a group of teenagers loitered on the front steps, eyeing Jonathan's car with interest. Simone saw him take it all in without flinching. Elevators broken, she said as they climbed the stairs to the third floor, loaded down with grocery bags. Good exercise. Her mother's apartment was small but immaculate. Diane had clearly spent hours cleaning. The old furniture was arranged neatly, covered with colorful throws that hid the wear and tear. Pictures of Simone and Marcus covered every wall, chronicling their childhoods. The smell of pine sol mixed with the lavender air freshener her mother loved. Diane Washington stood in the kitchen doorway, wearing her best church dress and an expression that was equal parts welcoming and wary. She was a beautiful woman in her early 40s, with the same warm brown skin and determined eyes as her daughter. Mama, this is Jonathan Pierce. Jonathan, this is my mother, Diane Washington. Jonathan set down the grocery bags and extended his hand with a genuine smile. Mrs. Washington, it's an honor to meet you. Simone talks about you all the time. Diane shook his hand, her grip firm. Mr. Pierce. Thank you for coming. And thank you for helping my daughter. Please, call me Jonathan. And I didn't help Simone as much as she likes to think. She's done all the hard work herself. That's not true, Simone interjected. You changed my life. You changed your own life. I just removed a few obstacles. 12-year-old Marcus emerged from the living room, trying to look cool but clearly excited. He was tall for his age, with the same eyes as his sister and mother, and an afro that was still finding its shape. You're the tech guy, Marcus said. You started Pierce Technologies when you were like 25. 26, Jonathan corrected with a smile. But yes. Are you interested in technology? I want to be an engineer. Build bridges and stuff. Simone says you have programs that help kids like me get into good colleges. We do. And when you're ready to apply, I'll personally make sure you have every resource you need. Marcus's eyes widened. Simone caught her mother's expression softening slightly. They spent the afternoon in that small apartment, and Jonathan fit into their family dynamic better than Simone had dared hope. He helped in the kitchen, following Diane's instructions for seasoning the chicken and chopping vegetables. He asked Marcus about school, genuinely listening to his answers and offering advice on math problems without being condescending. He looked at the family photos, asking questions about Simone's childhood. Diane slowly warmed to him, especially when he rolled up his sleeves to help cook and didn't act like manual labor was beneath him. This is delicious, Mrs. Washington, Jonathan said at dinner, taking a second helping of mac and cheese. Best I've ever had. You can call me Diane. And don't try to charm me with compliments. I'm not trying to charm you. I'm stating facts. He looked at her directly. I know you're concerned about my intentions with your daughter. You should be. She's special, and she deserves someone who sees that and treats her accordingly. Diane set down her fork. So what are your intentions? Mama, Simone protested. No, it's a fair question, Jonathan said. He turned to Diane. I care about Simone deeply. She's intelligent, driven, compassionate, and she challenges me to be better. I know there's a power dynamic because she works for me, and I know people will judge us because of our different backgrounds. But I also know that what we have is real, and I'm committed to respecting her, supporting her, and making sure she always feels valued. And if it doesn't work out, she still has to work for you. If it doesn't work out, her job is secure regardless. I would never punish her professionally for personal reasons. We have that agreement in writing. Diane looked at him for a long moment, then at her daughter. Do you love her? Mama, Simone said again, her face heating. I'm falling for her, Jonathan said honestly. I'm not sure if it's love yet, but it's heading in that direction pretty fast. The room was silent. Marcus looked between them with wide eyes. Simone felt like her heart might burst out of her chest. Finally, Diane nodded. Then you have my blessing to keep seeing my daughter. But if you hurt her, billionaire or not, you'll answer to me. Jonathan smiled. I wouldn't expect anything less. After dinner, Jonathan insisted on doing the dishes. He and Marcus washed and dried while Simone helped her mother put away leftovers. I like him, Diane said quietly. He's good people. Doesn't put on airs. Treats you like you're precious. He does, Simone agreed, her heart full. Just be careful, baby. The world isn't always kind to relationships like yours. I know. But he's worth it. Before they left, Jonathan pulled Diane aside. Simone watched from across the room as he spoke to her mother quietly, then handed her something. Diane tried to refuse, but Jonathan shook his head insistently. Finally, she accepted with tears in her eyes and hugged him. In the car on the way back to campus, Simone asked, "What did you give my mother?" "A check. To help with Marcus's school supplies and activities. She mentioned he wants to join the robotics team but it costs money they don't have." "Jonathan, you didn't have to do that." "I wanted to. Marcus is brilliant. He shouldn't miss opportunities because of money." He glanced at her. "Is that okay? I didn't want to overstep." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. "It's more than okay. Thank you. For everything. For being so good to my family. They're part of you. Of course I'm going to be good to them." He reached over and took her hand, and they drove through the city like that, connected, committed, building something real together. That night, Simone called her mother to say goodnight. "I was wrong about him," Diane admitted. "He's not just some rich man playing around. He really cares about you." "I know, Mama. You falling for him too?" Simone thought about the way he'd helped in the kitchen, the way he'd listened to Marcus, the way he'd looked at her across the dinner table like she was the only person in the room. "Yeah, Mama. I really am." Fall semester started with a rush of activity. Campus filled with students again, the program's office buzzed with energy, and Simone's senior year officially began. She was taking a full course load, working 25 hours a week, and somehow managing to maintain a 3.9 GPA. The high school outreach program she designed was launching in October, and she was coordinating implementation across 5 pilot cities. She was also officially, publicly dating Jonathan Pierce. They'd decided in late August to stop hiding. Not because they wanted attention, but because sneaking around felt dishonest and exhausting. Helen had been supportive, helping them set clear boundaries at work. During office hours, they were boss and employee, professional and appropriate. Outside of work, they were a couple figuring out how to navigate their relationship. The campus gossip had been intense for about 2 weeks. Students whispered, some supportive, others judgmental. One girl in Simone's advanced algorithms class had made a snide comment about sleeping your way to success. Simone had ignored it, but Jonathan had caught wind and reminded everyone via email that he had zero tolerance for workplace harassment or rumors. The gossip died down after that. By mid-September, Simone and Jonathan had settled into a comfortable rhythm. They'd have dinner twice a week at his downtown loft, a beautiful space with floor-to-ceiling windows and a kitchen he barely used before meeting her. She'd taught him how to make her mother's mac and cheese, and they'd spend evenings cooking together, talking about their days, watching movies curled up on his expensive couch. He'd met her entire friend group. She'd met his business partners and close friends. They'd navigated the awkwardness of their first real argument about her working too hard and resolved it with honest conversation. They'd celebrated her 21st birthday with a small party at his place, her friends mixing surprisingly well with his. Everything was going almost too perfectly. One Tuesday afternoon in late September, Jonathan called Simone into his office. She'd learned to read his expressions, and this one was excited but trying to stay professional. "Close the door," he said. She did, then sat across from his desk. "What's up?" "I have a proposition. A professional one." He slid a folder across the desk. "After you graduate in May, I want to offer you a position as Director of Student Outreach for Pierce Technologies. Full-time, salaried, benefits, the works." Simone opened the folder. The salary listed made her dizzy. It was more than her mother made in 2 years combined. "This is real. Completely real. You've proven yourself over and over. The high school program is exceeding projections. Student engagement is up 40% since you started. Universities are calling us asking to be part of our initiatives." He leaned forward. "You have a gift for this work, Simone. I want you leading this division. Jonathan, this is life-changing money. It's what the position is worth." "What you're worth." He paused. "But I need to be very clear about something. This offer has nothing to do with our personal relationship. I would make this offer regardless of whether we were dating. Helen agrees, the board agrees, and the numbers support it. You've earned this on merit." Simone looked at the paperwork. Director. A title that commanded respect. A salary that would let her help her family, pay off her student loans, start building a real future. The opportunity to expand the work she was passionate about on a national scale. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. Take your time. The offer stands regardless of your decision about us." That last sentence hung in the air. "Regardless of your decision about us." "Are you worried I'm going to leave?" she asked quietly. "No. Maybe. I don't know." He ran a hand through his hair. "I just want you to know that your career with this company isn't contingent on our relationship. If we broke up tomorrow, this offer would still be here. I'd never use your job as leverage to keep you. I know that." "Do you?" "Yes." She stood and walked around the desk, perching on the edge near him. "Jonathan, I trust you. Completely. You've proven over and over that you value me as a professional and as a person. I'm not worried about that." "Then what are you worried about?" "People saying I only got the position because I'm sleeping with the boss." He winced. "I've thought about that too. It's why I wanted to make sure the offer came through official channels, with board approval and documented justification. But I can't control what people think." "I know." She touched his hand. "But I also know I've earned this. So yes. My answer is yes. I'd be honored to be your Director of Student Outreach." His smile was brilliant. "You have no idea how happy that makes me." "Pretty sure I do." He pulled her down for a kiss, soft and celebratory. When they broke apart, both smiling, he said, "We should celebrate. Dinner at that Italian place you love?" "Can't tonight. I have a study group for discrete mathematics." "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow's perfect." That evening, sitting with her study group in the library, Simone couldn't stop smiling. One of her groupmates, a girl named Tamara, noticed. "Okay, spill. What has you grinning like that?" "I got offered an amazing job after graduation." "With Pierce Technologies?" Tamara asked. "Girl, that's incredible. Congratulations." "Thanks. It still doesn't feel real." "Is it weird dating your boss?" Another student, Kevin, asked. Not judging, genuinely curious. "Sometimes," Simone admitted. "We work hard to keep things professional at the office. But honestly, he's been so respectful of boundaries that it's not as complicated as I thought it would be." "He seems like a good guy," Tamara said. "I went to one of those tech workshops you organized last month." He was there helping students debug code at midnight like it was the most normal thing in the world. Didn't act superior or anything. He doesn't see himself as better than anyone, Simone said. That's one of the things I love about him. Love. She'd said it casually, but the word hung there. Did she love him? Was that what this feeling was, this constant awareness of his presence, this desire to share every good moment with him, this certainty that he understood her better than almost anyone? Yes, she realized. She loved him. Completely, terrifyingly, wonderfully. After study group, she called him. "Hey, you okay?" he answered, concern in his voice. "Did something happen?" "No. Everything's fine. Better than fine." She walked across the quiet campus, phone pressed to her ear. "I just wanted to hear your voice." That's a nice reason to call. She could hear his smile. "How was study group?" "Good. Productive. We're ready for the exam next week." She paused at a bench overlooking the main quad, sitting down. "Jonathan, can I tell you something?" "Always." "Today, when you offered me that position, I realized something. You've spent almost a year now investing in me, believing in me, creating opportunities for me. And you've never asked for anything in return except that I work hard and be honest. That's rare. That's special. You deserved every opportunity, Simone. Maybe. But you're the one who gave them to me. You saw potential in a hungry girl hitting a vending machine at midnight. You could have just bought me a sandwich and walked away. Instead, you changed my entire life." Her voice caught slightly. "I don't think you understand how much that means to me." "I think I do. Because you've changed my life too." "How?" "You're a billionaire. You have everything." "I have money," he corrected gently. "But before I met you, I'd forgotten why I started this company in the first place. I'd gotten caught up in board meetings and profit margins and market share. You reminded me that the point is to help people. To remove barriers. To make education accessible." He was quiet for a moment. "You made me remember who I wanted to be." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. "We're good for each other. We really are. I'll see you tomorrow for dinner. I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something nice. I'm taking you somewhere special." The next evening, Jonathan arrived at her dorm precisely at 7, dressed in a dark suit that made him look unfairly handsome. Simone had chosen a burgundy dress that Helen had helped her pick out, fitted and elegant. When Jonathan saw her, his expression made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. "You're stunning," he said simply. "You clean up pretty well yourself." The restaurant was upscale, the kind of place with white tablecloths and a sommelier. But Jonathan had reserved a private corner table where they could talk without being overheard. Over excellent food and wine, they celebrated her job offer properly. To Director Washington, Jonathan toasted. "The most talented person I've ever hired." To opportunities, Simone countered. And to the people who create them. They talked about her plans for expanding the student outreach program, about his upcoming business trip to San Francisco, about Marcus's success in his robotics team. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by comfortable silences and shared laughter. Over dessert, Jonathan's expression turned more serious. "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest." "Okay," Simone said, suddenly nervous. "Do you ever feel like I'm too involved in your life? Like I've changed too much too fast?" "No." "Why?" "Because someone in my office made a comment yesterday. Said that I've basically shaped your entire career path, and they questioned whether that was healthy. Whether you'd become too dependent on me." Simone set down her fork, processing this. "Who said that?" "Doesn't matter. But it got me thinking. I've given you a meal card, a job, a promotion, now this director position. I've met your family, helped your brother. From the outside, it probably does look like I'm controlling your life. Are you having second thoughts about us?" "No. God, no. But I want to make sure you're not either. I want to make sure you're choosing this path because it's what you want, not because you feel obligated to me." Simone reached across the table and took his hand. "Jonathan, look at me. Do I seem like someone who does things out of obligation? No. Do I seem like someone who can't make her own decisions? No. Then trust me when I say this, every choice I've made in the past year has been mine. Yes, you created opportunities. But I chose to take them. I chose to work hard. I chose to pursue this relationship with you. Not because I'm dependent, but because these are the choices that align with who I am and who I want to be. You're sure? Completely sure. You haven't changed my life by controlling it. You've changed it by removing obstacles so I could become who I was always meant to be. There's a difference. Jonathan's expression softened with relief. I needed to hear that. Good. Now stop doubting us and eat your tiramisu. He laughed, the tension breaking. They finished dessert, and Jonathan paid the check despite Simone's half-hearted protest. In the car on the way back to campus, he reached over and took her hand. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For being patient with my insecurities. For being clear about what you want. For choosing me. Always, Simone said, meaning it with everything in her. When he dropped her off at her dorm, their goodbye kiss lasted longer than usual, full of promise and certainty. Walking up to her room, Simone felt like she was floating. She had a future she'd never dreamed possible, work she was passionate about, and a relationship with someone who respected and valued her completely. 6 months ago, she'd been starving and desperate. Now she was full in every sense of the word. And it was only going to get better. October arrived with crisp air and falling leaves, painting the campus in shades of gold and red. The high school outreach program launched successfully, with Simone traveling to 3 cities to oversee implementation. Jonathan came with her to Chicago, claiming he needed to check on the operations himself, but mostly just wanting to spend time with her. They were partners now, in every sense. At work, they collaborated on strategy and implementation. Outside of work, they'd become inseparable. Simone kept some clothes at his loft. He had a key to her dorm room. They developed small rituals, Sunday morning coffee at her favorite campus cafe, Thursday night cooking at his place, random weekday lunches when their schedules aligned. Her friends had stopped teasing her about dating a billionaire. His colleagues had accepted that she was a permanent fixture in his life. Even the campus gossip had shifted from judgment to general acceptance that they were genuinely together. But they'd been carefully dancing around 3 specific words. Simone knew she loved him. Had known for months. But saying it felt huge, weighted with implications about the future. What if he didn't feel the same way yet? What if saying it scared him off? What if it changed the easy dynamic they'd built? She was pretty sure he loved her too, based on the way he looked at her, the way he remembered small details about her preferences, the way he'd rearranged his schedule to attend Marcus's robotics competition. But pretty sure wasn't certain. The issue came to a head on a Friday evening in late October. They'd planned a quiet night at Jonathan's loft, just dinner and a movie. But when Simone arrived, she found him on the phone, his expression tense. I understand that, Dad, but I'm not changing my plans. Because I have commitments here. No, it's not just business. He paused, listening. Her name is Simone, and yes, it's serious. That's not your decision to make. Simone quietly set down her bag, not wanting to interrupt but unable to help overhearing. Dad, I'm 36 years old. I don't need your approval. I know you had other expectations, but this is my life. Another pause. Because I love her. That's why it matters. Simone's breath caught. He'd said it. Not to her, but he'd said it. Jonathan noticed her then, his expression shifting from frustrated to startled. I have to go. We'll talk later. He ended the call and set down his phone. How much did you hear? Enough to know your dad doesn't approve of me. He doesn't know you. He just has outdated ideas about who I should be with. Jonathan ran a hand through his hair. I'm sorry you heard that. Don't be. But can we talk about the other thing you said? Which part? The part where you told your father you love me. Jonathan was quiet for a long moment. Then he crossed the room and took both her hands in his. I meant it. I've been trying to find the right time to tell you, because I didn't want to scare you or make you feel pressured. But yes, Simone. I love you. Completely. I think I've been falling for you since the night we met. Relief and joy flooded through her. You're not going to scare me off. No. No. Because I love you too. I've been too nervous to say it first. His smile was brilliant and immediate. He pulled her close, kissing her with an intensity that communicated everything words couldn't. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. Say it again, he whispered. I love you, Jonathan Pierce. I love you, Simone Washington. They moved to the couch, wrapped up in each other, the movie and dinner forgotten. 4 hours, they talked about what this meant, where they were heading, what they wanted from the future. My dad will come around, Jonathan assured her. And if he doesn't, that's his problem, not ours. What did he say, exactly? That I should be dating someone from my social circle. Someone who understands wealth and business connections. Standard elitist nonsense. He tightened his arms around her. He doesn't understand that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Tell me about your family, Simone said. You never talk about them much. Jonathan sighed. There's not much to tell. My parents are divorced. My dad remarried someone half his age and lives in Florida now. My mom teaches high school English in Ohio and pretends she's fine with how her life turned out. I have a younger sister who's a doctor in Seattle. We're not close, any of us. We're polite at holidays and that's about it. That sounds lonely. It was. Until I met you and your family. He kissed her temple. Your mom texted me yesterday, by the way. Sent me Marcus's progress report from school. All A's. She wanted me to know the robotics team is helping him thrive. Simone pulled back to look at him. My mama texts you? Pretty regularly, actually. Usually pictures of Marcus at his competitions, or recipes she thinks I should try. Sometimes she just checks in to make sure I'm eating enough vegetables. He smiled. I like it. It feels like having a real family. You're part of our family now. You know that, right? I was hoping that was the case. They ordered takeout eventually, eating Chinese food on the couch while watching a movie neither of them paid much attention to. The confession of love had shifted something between them, made everything feel more solid, more permanent. Can I ask you something? Simone said during a quiet moment. Anything. Where do you see us in 5 years? Jonathan thought about it. Honestly, I see us working together, maybe not in the same company but on aligned missions. I see you leading programs that change education access across the country. I see us in a house with a yard, not this sterile loft. I see Sunday dinners with your family. Maybe kids eventually, if you want them. He paused. I see a life built on partnership and mutual respect. What do you see? Pretty much the same thing, Simone admitted. Which is crazy because 6 months ago I couldn't see past next week. And now I can see a whole future. With you. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. They spent the night talking, planning, dreaming out loud about possibilities. When Simone finally went to sleep in Jonathan's bed, his arms around her, she felt completely secure. They loved each other. They had plans. They were building something real. The next morning, over coffee and pancakes that Jonathan burned slightly but Simone ate anyway, he brought up his father again. I want you to know something. Whatever my dad thinks or says doesn't matter. You're not some phase or distraction. You're the person I want to build a life with. I know, Simone said. But I also understand that family is complicated. If you need to repair things with your father, I support that. I don't need to repair anything. He's the one with the problem, not me. Jonathan reached across the table and took her hand. My priority is us. Building our life together. Everything else is secondary. Even your relationship with your dad. Especially that. I spent years trying to win his approval. I'm done with that. I'd rather invest my energy in people who actually value me. Simone squeezed his hand. I value you. So much. I know. That's why I love you. Later that day, Simone called her mother to share the news. We said I love you, she announced. Diane squealed so loudly Simone had to hold the phone away from her ear. Oh baby, I'm so happy for you. He's a good man. He'll treat you right. He already does, Mama. So when's he proposing? Mama, we just said I love you. Slow down. That man knows what he wants. I give it 6 months before he's on one knee. You're ridiculous. I'm right. You'll see. After they hung up, Simone sat on Jonathan's couch, looking out at the city skyline through those massive windows. A year ago, she'd been starving and scared. Now she was loved and secure. The transformation still felt surreal sometimes. But it was real. All of it. The job, the relationship, the future stretching out before her full of possibility. She'd accepted help when it was offered, worked hard to prove herself, and opened her heart to love when it appeared. And everything had changed because of it. The year that followed was a whirlwind of growth, change, and building the life Simone and Jonathan had imagined together. She graduated summa cum laude in May, her mother and brother cheering louder than anyone in the audience. Jonathan had been there too, sitting with her family, his pride evident in every smile. She'd officially started as director of student outreach the following week, moving into a real office with her name on the door. The high school program had expanded to 20 cities. The Food Security Initiative was now operational at 50 universities with plans to double that number. Simone was traveling regularly, speaking at education conferences, appearing on panels about technology access, making a real difference. Jonathan had stepped back from day-to-day operations at Pierce Technologies to focus on strategic initiatives, which meant he traveled less and had more time for them. They'd moved in together in July, buying a house in a quiet neighborhood halfway between campus and downtown. It had a yard for the garden Simone wanted to plant, a home office for each of them, and guest rooms for when her family visited. Which they did often. Diane and Marcus had stayed for 2 weeks over the summer. Jonathan had taught Marcus advanced coding techniques, and the three of them had become genuinely close. Marcus called Jonathan regularly now, asking for advice on everything from school projects to high school application strategies. The house felt like home in a way Simone had never experienced before. She and Jonathan had picked out furniture together, argued good-naturedly about paint colors, and created spaces that reflected both their personalities. The kitchen was her domain, where she cooked the comfort food recipes her mother had taught her. The living room had Jonathan's extensive book collection and a fireplace they used on cold evenings. It was domestic and peaceful and absolutely perfect. In November, they returned to the campus where they'd met to give a joint presentation on the food security program's success. Standing in that same student center where Jonathan had first helped her, Simone felt the full weight of how far she'd come. Many of you know my story, she told the packed auditorium. A year and a half ago, I was hungry, desperate, and too proud to ask for help. Jonathan saw me at my lowest point and refused to let me suffer alone. But this program isn't about one person helping another. It's about creating systems where no student has to choose between eating and education. The statistics she presented were impressive. Food insecurity on participating campuses had dropped by 60%. Student retention rates had increased. Graduation rates were up. The program was working, genuinely changing lives. After the presentation, students lined up to thank them, to share their own stories, to ask how they could get involved. One girl, a freshman with tired eyes and worn clothes, approached Simone hesitantly. I wanted to thank you, the girl said quietly. I was about to drop out because I couldn't afford to eat and pay for books. The meal card program saved me. I just wanted you to know. Simone hugged her, remembering exactly how that felt. I'm so glad it helped. Keep pushing forward, okay? You've got this. That night, back at their house, Jonathan found Simone in the kitchen making tea. You were incredible today, he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. We were incredible. This is our success, not just mine. No, this is your vision brought to life. I just provided the resources. Simone turned in his arms to face him. We're partners. In work, in life, in everything. I couldn't have done any of this without you. And I wouldn't want to do any of it without you. He kissed her softly, then pulled back with a slightly nervous expression. Actually, speaking of partnership, I have something I want to ask you. What's wrong? You look stressed. Not stressed. Nervous. He took a deep breath. Simone, this past year and a half with you has been the best time of my life. You've made me better, happier, more focused on what actually matters. I love you more than I thought it was possible to love someone. Simone's heart started racing. Jonathan. Wait, let me finish. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and got down on one knee right there in their kitchen. I know your mother predicted this, and she was right. I want to spend the rest of my life building dreams with you, supporting your vision, being your partner in every sense. Simone Washington, will you marry me? He opened the box to reveal a stunning ring, a single diamond on a platinum band that was elegant without being ostentatious. Exactly her style. Simone's eyes filled with tears. Yes. Yes, of course yes. Jonathan slid the ring onto her finger, then stood and kissed her deeply. When they broke apart, both laughing and crying at the same time, Simone couldn't stop staring at the ring. It's perfect. You're perfect. This whole thing is perfect. Good, because I was terrified you'd say it was too soon. Too soon? Jonathan, I've known for months that I wanted to marry you. I was just waiting for you to catch up. He laughed and kissed her again. They called her mother immediately, and Diane's squeals of joy were so loud that Jonathan had to hold the phone away from his ear. Marcus got on the line to congratulate them both and demand to be in the wedding party. They called Jonathan's mother too, who cried happy tears and said she couldn't wait to officially welcome Simone into the family. Even Jonathan's father called, his tone awkward but genuine, to offer congratulations and admit he'd been wrong about Simone. Any woman who can make my son this happy clearly has good judgment, he'd said grudgingly. That night, lying in bed with her fiancé, Simone thought about the journey that had brought them here. From hitting a vending machine at midnight to building a life with someone who saw her, valued her, and loved her completely. Thank you, she whispered into the darkness. For what? For seeing me that night. For not walking away. For giving me a chance to become who I was meant to be. You were always going to become this person, Jonathan said. I just removed some obstacles. You did the rest. We did it together. Yeah. We did. The months that followed were busy with wedding planning, program expansion, and life building. They set a date for the following June, a small ceremony with close family and friends. Simone insisted on getting married at a community center in her old neighborhood, wanting to celebrate where she came from. She and Jonathan continued working together seamlessly, launching new initiatives and refining existing ones. The student outreach program was being used as a model by other companies. Universities were calling them for consulting on food security and technology access. Their work was making a genuine, measurable difference in thousands of students' lives. Diane and Marcus became regular fixtures at their house, Sunday dinners expanding to include Jonathan's mother and sister when they could make it. They created traditions, board game nights, summer barbecues, holiday celebrations that felt warm and inclusive. The family Simone had always cherished grew to include the family she and Jonathan were building together. Marcus got accepted to a prestigious engineering program with a full scholarship, his application strengthened by the mentorship and opportunities Jonathan had provided. When the acceptance letter arrived, all three of them cried. You did this, Simone told her brother. You worked hard and earned it. But he helped, Marcus said, hugging Jonathan. You both showed me what was possible. On their wedding day in June, Simone stood in a simple white dress in the community center where she'd once attended after-school programs as a kid. The room was decorated with flowers and filled with the people who mattered most. Helen was there, beaming with pride. Simone's college friends, former co-workers, students whose lives had been changed by their programs. When Jonathan saw her walking down the aisle on her mother's arm, his expression of pure love and joy made her heart swell. They'd written their own vows, and Simone went first. Jonathan, you saw me when I was invisible. You believed in me when I'd stopped believing in myself. You didn't just give me opportunities. You gave me partnership, respect, and love. You've made me better, stronger, and happier than I ever thought possible. I promise to spend the rest of my life building dreams with you, supporting your vision, and loving you with everything I have. Jonathan's voice was thick with emotion when he spoke. Simone, from the moment I met you, I knew you were special. Your determination, your intelligence, your compassion changed my entire perspective on what matters. You've taught me that real success isn't measured in dollars, but in lives changed and love shared. I promise to always see you, value you, and choose you every single day for the rest of our lives." They exchanged rings, kissed as husband and wife, and walked back down the aisle together to applause and cheers. The reception was joyful, full of dancing and laughter and speeches that made everyone cry happy tears. Diane gave a toast that brought down the house. "My daughter has always been determined, but she also had to learn that accepting help isn't weakness. Jonathan didn't save her. He partnered with her. And together, they're changing the world. That's what real love looks like." Later, during their first dance as a married couple, Simone looked up at Jonathan and smiled. "Can you believe we're here?" "Yes. I always knew we'd end up here. Even that first night. Especially that first night. I saw your strength, your fight, your refusal to give up. I knew you were going to do extraordinary things." He pulled her closer. "I'm just lucky I get to do them with you. We're lucky. Both of us. Yeah. We really are." They danced under the lights, surrounded by love and possibility, two people who'd found each other at the right moment and built something beautiful together. Simone's journey from struggling student to successful professional to beloved partner had been unexpected, challenging, and absolutely worth it. And as she looked around the room at her mother's proud face, her brother's excitement, the friends and colleagues who'd become family, and the husband who'd seen her potential before she saw it herself, Simone understood something fundamental. She hadn't been rescued. She'd been recognized. And that recognition, combined with her own hard work and determination, had transformed everything. The future stretched out before them, full of programs to build, students to help, and a life to share. Together, they would continue removing obstacles for others, creating opportunities, and proving that when compassion meets determination, anything is possible. 2 years later, when Simone stood on a stage at a national education conference, 8 months pregnant with their first child, announcing the expansion of their programs to every state in the country, she thought about that vending machine moment. How one small act of kindness had rippled out into thousands of lives changed. Jonathan was in the front row, watching her with the same pride and love he'd shown from the beginning. Marcus was there too, home from his first semester of college, recording the speech to share with their mother. After the presentation, a young woman approached Simone nervously. "I just wanted to say thank you. Your meal card program helped me finish school. I graduated last month, and I just got a job as a software engineer. I wouldn't be here without what you built." Simone hugged her, tears in her eyes. "You did the work. You earned your success. But you made it possible." Later, in the car back to the hotel, Simone rested her hand on her growing belly and looked at Jonathan. "We're making a real difference. You're making a real difference. I'm just supporting you. We're partners. Always." She smiled. "Just like I told that girl, she did the work, but we made it possible. That's what I want our child to understand. That success is part opportunity, part hard work, and entirely about never giving up." Spoken like someone who knows from experience. "I do. Because I was that hungry girl once. And someone saw me and chose to help. And I chose to accept that help and make the most of it." She squeezed his hand. "And now we get to do that for others. Forever." "Forever," Jonathan agreed. "I love you. I love you too. So much." Outside the car window, the city lights twinkled in the early evening darkness. Inside, two people who'd started at a broken vending machine held hands and planned the future, ready to continue building a life of purpose, partnership, and love. They'd proven that accepting help wasn't weakness. That opportunities should be shared. That love could flourish across any divide. And that sometimes, the best things in life started with a simple act of kindness at midnight. Their story had begun with hunger and ended with fulfillment. With struggle and ended with success. With loneliness and ended with love. And every day, they worked together to make sure fewer people had to struggle alone, because they understood from experience that everyone deserves a chance to become who they're meant to be. All it takes is someone willing to see their potential, and someone brave enough to accept the help when it's offered. Simone Washington Pierce had learned that lesson well. And now, she spent her life teaching it to others, one student, one meal, one opportunity at a time.